Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, welcome to the class of International Financial Management. Today is our third lecture. Today we will discuss the international financial markets. In lecture 2, we discussed the international flow of funds, where the main topics were the balance of trade, the balance of payment, the current account, the capital account, and the factors affecting international flow of funds, that were inflation, the government restrictions, and etc. And also the international agencies, the international agreements, that were WTO, World Trade Organization, IMF, International International Monetary Fund, and World Bank groups. These were the international agreements or international agencies which are used to help the international trade. Today we will discuss the international financial markets. There are some markets we will discuss in today's lecture, and some of them we will discuss in the lecture 4. It was necessary to discuss all these markets in today's lecture. Unfortunately, the longitude of the video, so I cut it from today's lecture and added to the lecture 4 some of topics of today's lecture. Let me start with the chapter objectives. We will discuss the foreign exchange market in today's lecture, the euro currency market, and the euro credit market. The motives, there are some objectives, some motives for using international financial market. Dear students, you better know, if one organization or trade between two countries or any multinational corporation enters to another country, it will face some tariffs, some tax differentials. You better know about the tax differentials, that some countries have some tax rate, some countries have different or change tax rates. They will also face quotas. They will also face labor immobility. Labor immobility means to inability of mobilizing or converting or shifting labor from one place to another place. The communication costs, the cultural differences, and financial reporting differences. These are all restrictions, these are all barriers that one organization or a multinational company will face. But yet, these barriers can also create some unique or special opportunities for specific geographical or geographic markets that will attract foreign investors. What are these specific or special opportunities? The favorable market conditions. The favorable market conditions also attract investors to invest in those markets. Why investors invest in foreign markets? Because to take advantage of favorable economic conditions. Before, I told you that favorable economic conditions attract the investors to invest in those economies or in those countries. Another motive of investors, why they invest in foreign markets, because they expect that foreign currencies to appreciate against their own. What does it mean? It means that their currency is undervalued than foreign currency. So this is a benefit for them. Why they invest in foreign countries? Because they expect that their own currency is undervalued and the foreign currency is overvalued. So this opportunity attracts the investors to invest in those countries or in international market or in foreign markets. Next benefit, next opportunity, or next attractiveness of investors, investors, is to reap the benefits of international diversification. You better know about the international diversification. International diversification is very important for multinational corporations. Why? Because they manage their return, they manage their income by international diversification. If they are not getting favorable income, favorable return from their domestic country or from their domestic nation, so they overcome this tragedy, this tragedy to compensate with the international diversification. Next, why creditors provide credits in foreign markets? Because of to capitalize on higher foreign interest rates. They expect high interest rate in the foreign market than their own or their domestic markets. They expect to get high interest rates in the international market than their own market or their domestic market. Next, why they provide credit in international market? Because they have expectations of foreign currencies to appreciate against their own. Again, the same objective of the investors with the creditors, and to reap the benefits of international diversification. Next, why borrowers borrow in foreign markets? Because to capitalize on lower foreign interest rates. They know that in domestic or in their own country, in their own nation, there must be high rate of interest. So they have borrow credits, they borrow fund from international market because of lower interest rates. They expect to get foreign funds by lower interest rates. And when they expect foreign currencies to appreciate against their own, again they expect that the foreign currency will appreciate against their own. So these are all objectives that the investors go to the invest in the international markets. The creditors go to the provide credits in international market, and borrowers go to the get foreign borrowings from the foreign or international markets. Next, foreign exchange market. Foreign exchange market allows currencies. Better know about the foreign exchange market. Foreign exchange market is a market where international currencies are changed. International currencies are changed. This is called foreign currency market. Why? Because in order to facilitate international trade or financial transactions. Financial transactions, you better know, to get foreign funds, or to provide credits in the international markets, or to benefit or to help or to support the international trade in the international market. The system for establishing exchange rates has evolved over time. If we look to the 1876 to 1913, each currency was convertible into gold first. This was due to gold standard. In 1876, the agreement was taken by the institutions, by the organizations of the gold standard. At that time, every organization first, every country first convert their own currency into gold. After that, they have convert to another currencies. So this was gold standard. This was the era of gold standard. This was followed by a period of instability as World War I began and the Great Depression followed. In 1944, Bretton Woods Conference was taken. Bretton Woods Agreement was taken, called Fixed Currency Exchange Rate. What was Bretton Woods? Bretton Woods Agreement or Bretton Woods Conference was taken for the fixed currency rates, fixed currency exchange rates. What is fixed currency exchange rates? The conference was due to the intervention of governments. What's the intervention of governments? The agreement was about the floating or changes of the exchange rate. They said that if there is 1% change in currency exchange rate, the government will interference. If there is 1% change in it, change means fluctuation, either it goes up 1% up, either goes it down 1% down. So at this time, governments will intervene in this era. So this is the Bretton Woods Conference. But this Bretton Woods Conference was till 1971. In 1971, it was expired due to dollar overvalued. At that time, dollar was overvalued. As the dollar overvalued, this conference was ended by the dollar overvaluation. The next conference was the Smithsonian Agreement. Smithsonian Agreement devalued the US dollar and widened the boundaries for exchange rate fluctuations in between plus or minus 1% to plus or minus 2%. They allowed in this agreement, the organizations, the member countries, the member organizations, the member corporations allowed the fluctuations of 1% and in between 2%. They said that no problem. If there is plus or minus 1% in our overvaluation or devaluation, or plus 2% overvaluation or devaluation, it doesn't matter. Again, this conference was ended because government still had difficulties maintaining exchange rates within the stated boundaries. In 1973, the official boundaries for the more widely traded currencies were eliminated and the floating exchange rate system came into exist. Nowadays, we are facing with the exchange rate system, that is floating system. What does floating system means? Floating system exchange rate is determined by the supply and demand of the currencies. If there is more supply of the currency, it will devalue. If there is a demand of the currency exceeded the supply, then there is overvalue. The currency is overvalued. So this is called the floating exchange rate system. Dear students, the floating exchange rate system is the due to the supply and demand of the currencies. It is determined by the exchange rate is determined by the supply and demand of the currencies. If supply exceeds demand, then the currency will be undervalued. If the demand exceeds the supply, then the currencies will be undervalued. So these are the systems which are followed by the exchange market, foreign exchange market. Next topic is the euro currency market. Euro currency market means that euro dollar. What does euro dollar mean? The euro dollar means that the UK or the Europe banks have the dollar acceptance. Euro banks or Europe banks have placed with their own the dollar transactions. Acceptance of the dollars in the Europe banks. So this is called euro dollar market or euro currency market. In the 1960s and 70s, the euro dollar market, or what is now referred the euro currency market, grew to accommodate increasing international businesses and bypassed stricter US regulations on banks in the US. This euro currency market accommodated the international businesses and bypassed the strict rules and regulations of the US banks. The euro currency market is made up of the several large banks called euro banks. The banks who trade the dollars, it is called euro banks, that accepts deposits and provide loans in various currencies. They have various currencies: dollars, euros, bonds, other pesos, the Mexican pesos. All these currencies were available in the euro banks. So therefore, it is called euro currency market. The main example of euro banks are the recycling of petrodollars from oil exporting countries to other countries. They deal in the petrodollar market. It means that they purchase the oil from the countries who export oil, and sell this oil to those countries who buy or purchase oil. Next, the euro currency market in Asia is sometimes referred to separately as the Asian dollar market. It is called euro currency market in Asia is called Asian dollar market. The primary function of bank in Asian dollar market is to channel funds from depositors to borrowers. Another function is interbank lending and borrowing, such as LIBOR, London Interbank Borrowing System, that is called LIBOR. Next is the euro credit market. Euro credit market function is to loans of 1 year or longer are extended by euro banks to MNCs, multinational corporations, or government agencies. Euro credit market, these loans are known as euro credit loans. The euro credit loans. Floating rates are commonly used in the euro credit loans. The bank's assets and liabilities maturities may not match. Why? Because they accept short-term deposits and they provide long-term loans. So this is the unmatching of their assets and liabilities of the euro credit market or the euro credit loans. Thank you. This was today's lecture. Dear students, we will discuss other topics of today's lecture in the next lecture 4, inshallah. For now, thank you so much. Have a nice time and have a good time.